Hello, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. My name is Sam, and I'm a real person, and today I want to talk to you about Mega Man 64 for the Nintendo 64, which is not actually the 64th installment of Mega Man, though you wouldn't be, I wouldn't think you were crazy for saying that, right? I mean, there's a lot of Mega Man. There's like 6 of them at least on the NES alone. They could have got here by the N64. Could have happened, But this is pretty much just a review of the Nintendo 64 version, which I believe released in the year 2000. I believe it was actually 2000. It originally came out on the PlayStation in 97, I think it was, and that was called Mega Man Legends. And most of this is just going to be about the 64 version, but because they're so similar, there's just some visual differences, some control differences, and I would say just better audio in the PlayStation version. It's just better quality for the audio, at least. Aside from those changes, they're pretty similar. But in case other things don't necessarily line up, I know I don't have that version. I haven't played it. I've just seen some of it and heard some of it, and so I'm basing this just on the N64 version that came out later, so there's no confusion on that stuff. That this is the same game, pretty much, almost exactly, and so a lot of stuff will overlap. But if it happens to not overlap in some particular instances, you've been warned. You'll also be seeing the footage from the N64 version, since that's the one I have and we're talking about. I kind of like the N64. I don't know if you could tell, but I do. There's also a written review you can check out before or after instead of this one. It'll probably be in the description. The link to it will be in the description. The whole thing probably wouldn't fit in the description. I've never tried it, but it probably wouldn't. So just click the link and it'll be easier for you, easier for everybody, and, whatever. But I think that's mostly it for the preface. So let's get into the So Mega Man 64, the basic plot rundown here, and it's probably something going on the screen anyway that'll explain some of the background and whatnot, is the world here is that you're in the future. This is a different Mega Man than the ones from the other games. This is Mega Man Volnut, so that is he. And this is the world where basically all the world is pretty much covered by water. So to get around, a lot of people have to be taking these ships, either boats or some kind of plane type vehicles. It's also futuristic Mega Man-y stuff, but that kind of thing. And a lot of these different islands and outposts and everything are powered by these refractors that people just find buried deep underground. And so they're the people who go and try to get these refractors to use for themselves and to sell to others for profit and whatnot. These are called diggers because they go digging for them. And there's also, I guess, Tales of a Mother Lode that's mentioned. And that doesn't really get brought up a whole lot in the actual, throughout the gameplay itself. But it's there, at least. And so for this game, you don't need to remember that bit. But basically, you're flying around in this ship, you and Roll Casket, not the Roll from the other Mega Man games, and her grandpa Barrel Casket. They're the 3 main characters you're playing as, or I guess not. You're playing as Mega Man. There's the 3 characters that are on the ship. Your ship is called Flutter. Anyways, the beginning has this little tutorial section where you kind of learn how to play, and then basically you learn some of the basics of you can how you run and jump and shoot. You still have the 3 shots on screen thing. It's in 3D. This is a 3D shooter platformer adventure game. It's got little elements of those and even some RPG elements in there too. And we'll get to those. But in the first area, you kind of just figure out your controls, how you shoot things, how you jump. How you can grab onto ledges and then pull yourself up onto them, and how to do some of the basic controls, which are a little like tank controls, I think there might be a few options maybe for this, but I played with whatever one for the entire time, so I mostly know that. Where the stick will, I'm pretty sure you can change them though, but the stick by default I believe is something like this, where the stick turns you left and right, and up and down on the stick or the pad. You can do it on either the control stick or the D-pad, and then left and right turn you up and down, make you move forward and backward, and then you can use L, R, and Z for strafing. I mean, those are pretty much the basics. You shoot things. Sometimes enemies drop these little, like, things called refractor shards, which I guess the idea is that you can sell them for money, but to make the process easier, you just pick those up and they just count as money, which is called zenny in this game. So unless those are supposed to directly be zenny, I don't believe so, but usually it says you find a refractor shard somewhere, and then it says you get so much zenny for it. I don't know, it's weird that it's just like almost like an automatic conversion. You never really see the money in the game, just the refractor shards, and then a representation of it, whatever. And then it shows you how you shoot enemies and explore these areas, and you get a refractor here, and then you fight a little boss, you do some stuff, then a cutscene happens, you get away, and then this is all opening shit. I'm not spoiling this. This is opening shit. Then you crash land on this island, and you have to try and repair Flutter, and that's where the game kind of starts, where the game is kind of split into these two categories of doing things. First off, you'll probably be doing more of the side questing and main questing kind of stuff, where you'll have to go in and you have to talk to the authorities, you have to go through customs, and you're talking to people just to try and get access to the city, and then to try and get access to go digging to do stuff. There's a lot of things you can do around the city too, and like helping out people with these little side quests of, maybe it's like a little fetch quest, or maybe they're looking for certain items or something, or they want you to play a little mini game, maybe, and you can do that, and you can get items and zenny and other things for doing that. There are also shops around where you can buy some stuff, and there's some places where you can go and get some more lore and flavor text out there. And so that's why this is some of the little light RPG parts kind of starts it within that. Some of the stuff is mandatory. Some of the stuff doesn't unlock until you do certain parts of the main story, the main quest. But some of it is just optional side quest stuff you can do for extra things. And I feel like more of the bulk of the game, or at least the part I enjoyed more, so I feel like that's the focus for me, is the actual digging, I guess you would call it, where you're getting access to these different dig sites and digging around places on the island to try and look for parts and whatnot to try and fix Flutter. And so you go down in there and you can explore these areas. There's the different enemies for you to fight. There's lots of little like secrets and things for you to like find. A lot of times you'll find cool stuff and you'll be like, okay, what does this stuff do? Sometimes it's something you can use immediately. Like you can get like buster parts, which you can use to customize your main gun, your buster. So you can change like how fast it shoots, how many shots it shoots per volley, how far the shots go before they disappear, and how strong those shots are. All these things, depending on what the part is, and which combination of parts you have on, can alter those stats in different ways. Sometimes you'll get things that are just, like items you have on you that you can like. 'Cause, I mean, sometimes it's just zenny. Again, it's just money. But sometimes it's like things you have on you and you're like, oh, what does this do? Sometimes that stuff you bring it back to Roll, and she can actually turn it into something, like maybe a buster part. Maybe she can turn it into a special weapon, which in this game are like the things you equip on Mega Man. Kind of like other Mega Man games, you have a lot of different weapons on you. But you can only have only one at a time in this game, and you select which one, and you can come back here to upgrade them with, again, using your money. You can use that to upgrade the different aspects of those, giving them more ammo or strength or some other attributes sometimes, stuff like that. You just go back there to refill the ammo as well, and to switch weapons. You only have one on at a time. And so sometimes these can be turned into special weapons, and you can use those alongside your buster. And they're usually a lot more powerful than your buster, or have some kind of extra use. They can do something that your main gun isn't going to achieve, either at all or just not as well. Sometimes you'll turn it into just some kind of special item you can use to do, usually to get some other like ability, and then you need this ability to kind of explore more places or do more things, or just to make things more convenient. Again, sometimes you can get those things as rewards from people in town and whatnot as well. And every once in a while, those items will just be used to bring to the museum for that side quest and being displayed there as well. And I mean, that's most of the game is, going through and getting new things that can help you achieve different things. You can do the different customizations of what your special weapon and your buster parts are and everything, and you can buy stuff in the shops to help you. You can get things as rewards for side quests and for exploring, and there's like the other main part of this plot is that these pirates keep attacking the town, and you kind of turn into this hero that's trying to fend them off. And most of the game is you trying to fix up your ship to get away while trying to keep these pirates fended off, so this town isn't left defenseless without you. They kind of see you as like this hero. And who knows what else could happen. But that's the main part of it, is trying to thwart these pirates while trying to be able to get out of there and be able to leave and everything. So that's the main part of the game. And I like it. I do like it quite a bit. I think it's really fun to explore these worlds, and like I think it's a good way to try to transition Mega Man into 3D, where it's like, I don't know, if you just made it like really linear, I think I would have probably been more annoyed because it would have been harder. Whereas here it's like stuff's hard. A lot of times it's like maybe there's a different way to tackle it, to get a different special weapon or a different assortment of buster parts, or maybe get some stuff that'll help you with it. And that's an interesting way to help keep you tackling it more strategically rather than just, banging your head against the wall and trying to do it perfectly the main way it's kind of supposed to be done. I think that's cool. And it's fun to explore these places, and like it's really, really exciting to find things. Like maybe probably the thing that's like so like awesome about this game is the way that it's like you're exploring and you find shit, and either you can use it right away or you're like, oh man, I can't use this, I just have it in my inventory. And a lot of times you have to get multiple things together. Sometimes it's a single thing, but sometimes it's like multiple things together to make anything. So you'll be hanging on to something for a long time before a roll can make it into something. But like you go there and you're like, oh, like what is this thing going to do? I have all these different things. Maybe if I go talk to Roll now, I'll be able to get some cool stuff. And it's like, am I going to get a buster part? Am I going to get a new special weapon? What's that going to do? Or am I going to get like an item that makes me like, it gives me a new ability. It makes it so I could do more stuff than I could before. It just makes gameplay more fun. Like basically the reward for trying to search everywhere and do everything is that you're rewarded with something that makes the gameplay more fun. And so the more you actually look around and do the stuff and actually the more of the game you experience, the more fun it is to experience more of the game. It just keeps building, and it's a great feeling. I think that definitely feeds its way into a lot of the side quests too, where you're like, oh yeah, well, like I'll do the side quest because they might give me something cool that I can use for other stuff and make the other part of the game fun. Even though I wasn't real big on the side questing, I still kind of wanted to do it because it's also okay for like world building stuff too, I guess. Kind of neat, and to have a little divergence in your gameplay. But the main part of the game is I liked exploring and shooting the stuff. And I like the Mega Man art style in general. I like Mega Man stuff, so it was pretty easy to win me over with some of these things. I was, oh yeah, seeing a bunch of different robots and shit, and that's cool. I get to blow up more robots. Awesome. Yeah, it's just really, a lot of what's here is pretty solid for something that I think is like not great. It's kind of unpolished, and it feels like it's a little lacking. And I think that's maybe where my downsides start in, where it's like a lot of the stuff's maybe a little nitpicky, I guess, but like I feel like this game like maybe could have had more areas to go to and more things to get and just like more content in it in general, which maybe is asking for a bit much, but there's that aspect to it. I think that the museum side quest thing undercuts a lot of the excitement of finding stuff when you've had it for a while, and it's like you have something, and it's always like, it could be like, oh, maybe it'll become a buster part, maybe it'll become a special weapon, maybe it'll become a new thing I can use to have other abilities. The worst case scenario is that you find something in there, and it's like, oh, you bring it to the museum, and then the curator will put it on display. And it's not like it's like good for lore either, right? Like you bring it to the museum, and it's like some of it is. But it seems like a lot of these things you bring in, and the curator's like, I don't have any idea what this is, and then just speculates on what it could be. and then makes up a story like it looks like it could have been this thing that the Reaver bots may be used for doing this. I'll call it that and put that as the information on display based on I think that could be it from looking at it, which is like insane. I don't think that counts as real lore. That's just like you making shit up. It's ridiculous. So that's like kind of stupid and undercuts a lot of like the I'm going to get an item thing. It takes away from some of that excitement. So that's like that's a pretty big pushback on that. And I think it's like the polish on this game I said is not very good. Like it's not like terrible, I guess, but like some of the visual style, there's like a lot of the buildings and landscapes and stuff I feel like they're lacking some detail. But I'm willing to at least accept that maybe it was sort of trying to pull off of the art of like more original classic Mega Man, and so trying to make that more basic, simplistic looking art go 3D. Maybe didn't translate that well, and that's like what they were going for. I don't know. Not a great decision to do, even if that is what they were trying to do. Otherwise, if it's not what they were trying to do, they just kind of need some more detail there, I think. It's kind of undetailed and simplistic in a lot of places. Also the character models are really blocky, so like that's kind of awkward. It's like you could probably make better looking character models. They're pretty awkward for some of them, but most of the robots are okay. Most of the robots look cool. For the voices, the voice acting isn't great. It's fine. It depends on who's doing the voice acting and when. It's not always mixed properly, where sometimes it's kind of hard to hear the people doing the voices, or some people are just a lot louder than other ones. The quality of the voices sucks. The quality sucks. Quality of the voices sucks. Yeah, no, that's right. That's how you say that. But it's really bad because it's like, I think this one is probably a part of the conversion, I suppose, where there was so much like information there, they had to save space, so they had to like, make the quality worse, so they were smaller files. I would say it's probably something like that. So a lot of the voices like just sound really like, I don't know, bad. The quality of them is like it's clipping a lot, and it sounds low quality, like notably low quality. And there's been voices used in other Nintendo 64 games that have been better. That like for games that came out earlier. So I know they think like voices can sound better on here, but that was probably the best they could do with what they had, rather than re-recording things or anything like that. So I don't know. Also, the music, there's not a whole lot of it in here. And, like, this is a big one for me because it's, like, most Mega Man games that I play, it usually has some pretty awesome music in it. Like, the Mega Man games, the Mega Man X games, they all have, like, some really good music in them. And so to play a Mega Man game where I only really like a few of the songs, and there aren't tons of songs in it, that's weird. Like, a lot of the places just use like atmospheric stuff, like a lot of ambient sound. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. They just try to make it so it's like, here's like this weird like engine hum and stuff, like when you're in some of these underground places, and outside you just hear birds chirping and stuff, and so it's like it fits, I guess, with what you're doing, but it's also not really. It's not like I'd rather just have cool music happening the whole time. And even for some of the music that is in the game, I don't think any of it is awesome. And that's a shame. Like, that's obviously just kind of a victim of it being part of the Mega Man, franchise. You're kind of, I'm expecting really good music. And so you gotta deliver. You got some hard acts to follow here. But, like, those things, like the art and the music, I think are both pretty big things for me in Mega Man, where I usually like them a lot. And so the way that this game falls flat on those, I am kind of surprised I like this game as much as I do. And I don't know, like there's probably a bunch of other things. One other thing I guess I'll mention, just because I think it's ridiculous and I don't want you to have to find out for yourself. Mild spoiler for the difficulties of the game. You start off playing and it's just a standard difficulty. But if you beat the game, then you unlock hard mode, which makes sense, and that's basically just changing damage ratios. So enemies will do a lot more damage to you, and you won't do as much damage to them. And so it's just kind of a more tedious version of the same thing. I think that's a really shitty way to do difficulties. But if you beat it on hard mode, you unlock easy mode, which just has a maxed out buster. All your stats are just maxed out from the start. So, if you're good enough to beat the game on hard mode, you get to play easy mode, which you won't want to do because it'll be way easier. Like, it'd be a fun thing to do, but why not just call it Mega Mode and have it be like a reward, or just give you an item that lets you do that, or something. Give you the option to do that in either of those modes? I don't know. It just feels like such a weird thing to beat hard mode and then unlock easy mode. That's fucking stupid. Also, speaking of fucking stupid, I won't spoil the actual ending for you, I guess, but the ending is a lot of sequel bait. They want you to play Mega Man Legends 2. At the time they made it, they probably wanted there to be a Mega Man Legends 2. There is definitely no Mega Man 64 2, so, like, a lot of it is just, like, basically some plot thing pops up near the end and just springs a bunch of shit on you, and now you have a bunch of questions. Not questions that you were, thinking of earlier, or things that maybe made sense of what you were doing earlier. Just things that popped up now because it's getting near the last leg of the game here, so we better throw this in here. And so, while there is still a somewhat satisfying ending to how, like, you finish the main stuff of what you've actually been invested in for this game, there's still like a lot of those questions, and it's like they just wanted you to want a sequel to answer that stuff, and that's kind of shitty and annoying, and it just feels kind of forced, and it makes it hard for some of this to stand alone as its own complete game because of this weird thing of like now there's all this stuff that's not answered, and that sucks. But Mega Man 64, as I've said, I like it. I like this more than I should. It's really unpolished. There's a lot of stuff in here that I think is kind of like there's not enough content, or they could have done some of this stuff better, and it seems like almost a guilty pleasure game at this point of like this is maybe the sloppiest game that I enjoy this much. That ratio there of enjoyment to polish, whatever. There's a lot more enjoyment than this polish of this game should give me, and so I think that definitely speaks volumes about it. I don't hear a whole lot about Mega Man 64, so I guess it's a bit of a hidden gem, in the sense that most people played Mega Man Legends and probably didn't want to get this on the Nintendo 64. They maybe should have still just called it Mega Man Legends so people would have wanted it based on the name, but anybody who knew, and at least looking at this art here, you can kind of tell that's what it is. They kind of knew, and probably realized that, this game isn't as impressive 3 years later than it was back in 97. It's just like, games have advanced even at that point enough where this looked kind of a little aged and it looked a little rough around the edges, and it wasn't as exciting just to have it unless you didn't have a PlayStation and you just got it on Nintendo 64. So if you're looking to get this, I would really only recommend it for people who don't have a way to play Mega Man Legends already, or people who have, a Nintendo 64 and they want something somewhat of a hidden gem a little bit on there. This is a good one. And huge Mega Man fans. If you ever wanted Mega Man to be a little like Zelda-esque, and in 3D, like this is a good one to check out, or just big Mega Man fans to see how they did Mega Man in 3D, or even if you're a big fan of Mega Man Legends, maybe, and you're like, well, I wonder how the port went over, and that could be interesting to check it out. But a lot of the people who are thinking about this, it's one of those where it's like, you probably already know if you're interested in this game or not, so me making recommendations doesn't mean much. I think it's probably good to get it maybe, $20 max. I don't think it's the kind of game that anyone's going to enjoy as much as I do, based on how many criticisms I have on it. But who knows? Go ahead if you like. It's neat. And now I'm just sad that I don't have a way to play Mega Man Legends 2, because it sounds like that would have everything I want. At least in my head, it sounds like, yeah, if I wanted, to clean up some of these mechanics, to add in more stuff, and to just build on the ideas that were in here and just do more, that sounds like what a sequel would do, and at this rate, who knows if I'll ever know. Maybe I'll find out, by the year 20XX, when I finally play that game.